welcome to the aMarieSpeaks podcast, Season 2, my transitory video podcast version. And this is what I'm calling Season 2. And we are well into an ode to Walter Russell. This is the fifth part of this prayer segment that I have been diving into, discussing the distortions of my own that I have so magically sort of melted through and been led through. A great unfolding and a wonderful discovery over the last about 2 years of coming back to this prayer every Sunday and saying it. So thank you for joining. It is October 3rd, 2024, and as I said, this is the fifth part. It's episode 6 of my Season 2 podcast, just for keep organization here for myself. And we are going to jump right into the next sort of segment of the prayer. If you haven't caught the other portions, I definitely suggest listening to them. Such wonderful pieces that we've already been through, and but in respect of our time and to get through this, as there's still so much to go through, I'm going to just dive into the next kind of segment here, and it talks about a very touchy word that I have kicked around ground, sort of around for a while. But when I first started saying these lines, it felt kind of corny. It felt same as the old-timey sort of language. It felt a bit disconnected to me and my present self. But it's been so beautiful to see how it's become connected, and I've been able to integrate and really claim ownership to this word. And so here it is. Immortality. Yeah. Yep. It's such a magical word, right? And now it says, immortality is mine. I will earn immortality. I will bestow immortality. Mine is the power to give immortality. I shall not deny that which shall give immortality to those who dwell in darkness and who reach out for the light. I will reach out my hand into the darkness and lead him that asketh into the light. Those are some powerful words. That's some absolute soul alchemy right there. That's a divine service to the great whole, to the great other, to source, to yourself, to all. And the word in itself here, immortality, has become so infinite to me that literally it is the potentiality of infiniteness. It is eternity. It is the whole before and after, the whole show, the whole shebang, the mystery, the magic, the joke, the pun, whatever you want to call it, you can, and it is. And there's a huge responsibility to that as well, right? It's much like the word sovereignty, and I've talked about that a lot in previous things. And I'm going to try my hardest not to get off track into another term. We can talk about that word later. But for now, let's circle back and stick to this immortality. It is such a conundrum because it is in itself the opposing term to the word mortal. and are we but mortal here? That's a basic truth that we can tell for certain is that you only live once. Or so we've been told, and so we think and are under the assumption in the game or in this great playscape, as I like to call it sometimes, right? Knowing that the body, the physicality, is mortal and will pass and will return to the great makeup that is the whole of the construction and the architecture, the structure. But to know that that was designed, in fact, by infinite intelligence, of source, consciousness, of God, whatever you choose to call it or identify that as, or don't call it anything. Make up a whole different name, even, that's better, right? Make it as you, as unique as you can, that makes it so definite to you that it's undeniable. That's it. It's unspeakable. It's the breath. It's the word. It is the sound. Right? How do you say Yahweh? If you even choose to, because I believe as we spoke it into man, it became a great distortion, and unfortunately, a strong tool for negative development, control, and restriction. And what a torturous place we can make eternity, and how painful and negative can immortality really seem and be presented to one, if you so choose to look at it in that way, right? But conversely, we have infinite potentiality to be built on the positive spectrum as well, to where we feel empowered by immortality, by the great unknown, the void, the before and after mystery of the Creator, something that's so much bigger than the self, than this lifetime even. And how do we really integrate and connect into that greater role? Of course, this word immortality, it showcases to us, our eternal soul. But in the afterlife, how do we, sometimes that can be misconstrued. I feel that highly distorted explanations and expectations start getting implanted in there, depending on, what your level of light and shadow is within you. It can be, judgmental sort of thing, where everyone isn't a part of this immortality, right? There's some people who get shut out, didn't make it, they're not good enough for it. I don't think that's exactly the case. Much like sovereignty is bestowed by the gift of life, it's said and done because you're there and consciously aware. I believe immortality is just the same. And in fact, immortality is showcased in the steadiness of the production of the show. The fact that the world outside doesn't change, and yet it does change, and yet it's always there, and yet it's different but the same. Organic life, trees, seasons, all of these sort of never-ending cycles showcase to us very simply how immortality functions. That it's not specific to unique single life roles. Instead, it's more of a template. It's more of a generic repetition. And when we can sort of take cues from this growth that happens organically out there, when we can use those markers as sort of exercise within ourselves to gauge our own growth and our own immortality, there is a deep unlocking that happens. And for me, the first sort of basic layer was very 3D. It was very materialistic and sort of innate and very human, right? And it's the passing down of DNA. It's the passing down of life, of family, and how your spirit, your teachings, your heritage lineage, your bits of fractal creator that are markers of you, your genetics, they do pass down. And we see our children look like us, right? Family members look alike. There's something to the makeup there. I'm not claiming what it is. I'm just noting obvious truths, right? And for me, that was one of the first things that I said, yes, I get it. Immortality is a metaphor. As life, as we live through our children, and we live again in a rebirth through our grandchildren. I've seen it with my father, and I've seen it in many other parents who become grandparents, reignited in life. And also, I've seen grandchildren or even great-grandchildren born who were replicant of grandparents or of great-grandparents with echoes of them, not even having known them or not even being exposed to them. Maybe they passed on or whatever. But the recollections, the reminiscent bits of remnant bits of them, right? It's obvious. And so that was the first sort of locking into the word and saying, oh yes, I really do. I can really actually grasp this term and bring it into my heart when I'm speaking it and speak it out with my own version of truth and say, immortality is mine. And it is, we all have a right to procreate and a right to a family and whatever. And the other thing here, so just to, not all of us do have a family or can have children and all of that, right? And I totally understand that, and I have great empathy for those who weren't blessed with sons like I was, and I'm so grateful for both of my sons. But much like the previous episode and the lines about the transcendent joy of creation, right? There's this other aspect of creating all things. It's not just the creation of a human being, the creation of a life, but the creation of projects, right? The creation of bringing forth a beautiful painting or a song or a good conversation or any sort of plan, project, right? These creations that we build, they are alive. They are, as I've said many times, this sort of reality bubbles of experience that we co-create that sit out in the etheric other space out there and that we engage with and interact with, and that they should be able to be freely engaged in interacting with others out there outside of our own monitoring and micromanaging if we are creating from a positive place, from a place of service to others, and that aligns with the law of one and freely offered service, positive productivity. That comes with no strings attached. And when we offer out anything that we've created, whether it's a book or it's a picture or it's even just speaking out your own words, offering advice, offering a caring word or a hug or anything, right? Helping hand, somebody needs something. How we offer that out is everything. We can choose to make that offering immortal by setting it free, right? Or we can choose to limit it and to chain it and enslave it to us and force it to be under subjugation to us and serve us and call it mortal and put strings attached to it and all these entanglements and limit it. And to me, I'm not looking, I'm looking to disengage from that and to fly free and to move gracefully with fluidity along with the current of all the happenings. I don't want to stagnate and hide. I don't want to force people to look from a certain direction only at what I have to offer and then reply and offer back only a certain part of these variety of inputs that I'm even allowing. I want people to feel like they can engage freely as well and offer whatever input that they have, even if it's opposing or different or, unexpected, because that is a great offering. It's a point on my scatter plot that should be incorporated into the whole because it exists within the other. But when we deny them that right, we deny them their sovereignty, we deny their positive offering and service, it's a negative reaction. Has negative polarity, creates negative ripple response effects. But when we can use these words more clearly and set our intentions free, set everybody around us free, or at least work to incorporate the intentions of freedom. Because remember, the universe isn't really listening to our words. It's not auditory. They're not a translator above with like translating all the different languages of humans into their language and they're listening with their ears. It's a cymatic frequency, it's pulsations, it's full of many, many different interactions and exchanges of energetic input. And the intentional frequency is so much louder than any speech bubble that pops up around you. And so when we engage in all these things in this immortal way, when we hold sovereignty as a frequency and we create positive productivity in all these things that we're engaging in, we are confirming to ourselves our immortality, our eternal flame, our inner core vortex flows freely and balances wonderfully with our actionary torrido outside of us to keep everything ever flowing and balanced so that you never need for anything. And that of course you can know you're immortal because every present moment you're here. There's an observation, there's a thing, there's a purpose. So this leads me into the other further lines here, being called into service. I love how Walter Russell calls people to service and how I feel ignited in these lines here. I will earn immortality, right? How great does it feel to say that? No matter what way you choose to sort of align with the term immortality, even if it's not even in a way that I have, feel free to sparkle it up and make it uniquely you, tailor fit it to you is the point. And as I do for myself, I switch it up all the time. These are just a couple of, polar opposite different examples of the gradient that I fluctuate through every Sunday. But these to earn and to bestow, I love saying these because it's such a reminder of your inner and direct world and also your place and space in other people's worlds and the roles that you play, not just in your own world and what you want, but in other people's days and in their lives and what they want. Again, this makes you consciously aware. Are you looking to create and set free and offer free service, or are you looking to entangle and ensnare? Are you looking at what you can get back and retribution? Are you seeking to bring in to store for more because you have a lack in a debt-based alignment happening and your needs are most important to get filled first? Or do you already know that all your needs are met, and are you operating freely from a place of abundance and surplus, knowing you have a great drive and purpose within you that motivates and calls you to action? That you're here for a purpose. And that these things are what I really am bringing up to myself when I'm saying mine is the power to give immortality, right? This is the things I'm thinking of sharing. When I share and speak my truth, that's giving immortality to myself, to others. When I fumble and when I make mistakes and they're transparent, and I offer myself or work to offer myself these troubleshooting ways through that are honest, that are empathetic toward the mistakes made, that are also corrective in a positively aligning way, that want harmonious solutions. These are very powerful tools to be working with here as we graduate into fourth density, and as we bring our alignments, our structures, and the whole place setting and social settings up into greater fourth density. The power is ever flowing, and getting used to the ever flowingness is a whole new dance step in its own. I love the inner practice, because at first when I started this, and sometimes even throughout this, I bring myself back and forth between this great external seeking, external validation, internal seeking, internal validation kind of cycling. And sometimes I feel a great calling to action in my direct world and for others, and a teaching sort of mentor role as I say these. I will earn immortality, I will bestow immortality. I shall not deny that which shall give immortality to those who dwell in darkness and who reach out for the light, right? I will reach out my hands into the darkness and lead him that asketh into the light. This is, when you first start to speak it, it sounds very otherish. You can get very caught up in the actionary role of others and forget that first and foremost, the foundational work is inwards. And always reminding myself to bring these lines inwards. I tend to see my own inner shadows at this time. I tend to speak inwards to that, diving down the inner layers, flipping of the lens, I like to call it, to where I take my first person sort of CEO, main alley system consciousness and dive inwards and know that it splits like a beautiful prism into mind, body, and spirit bosses. And those split into managers and workers through the beautiful triad of creation and through these inner systems, the torrido, or seeking a better word to even explain torrido, because it's a three-part working, that the main focus gets to be the external torrido, and we forget about the inner vortex and the lemniscatic flow of the entire thing because we're just talking Taurus talk. But that's the jargon for my system series. If you're interested in breaking down that sort of distortion, I have 40-something videos, I think, or 50 videos on that. Systems, positive and negative, and how the Taurus in itself has been a very distorted model. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. I love to speak to myself here, and much like I spoke about in, I think, episode 3 of those Who Am I lines, I alone am not I. I bounce around through the different ways that this comes out. But one of my deepest coming back to's, and one of the most savorable sort of practices, has been to speak this inside to the own audienceship of my managers and workers, of my own shadow aspects, to tell them, from my highest self speaking, or my best self, my more positively aligned pieces. Sometimes I have many different visualizations that I do with these sort of archetypes and personalities within myself, and also in the tower, the energetic tower. So sometimes, I'll see my king and queen from the heart center, sort of shining their light in offering their light, and and they are speaking these words in these other more shadowy aspects within, my energetic tower, and saying that I shall not deny that which shall give immortality to those who dwell in darkness and who reach out for the light. I will reach out my hand into the darkness, right? And sometimes I even like to reach out my hands when I do this, and I like put my hands together in prayer at that time and really feel it. And really, it's a deep offering, a promise to myself and to the harder parts of myself that I see you and I am returning. I will come back. I will help you. As soon as you're ready, as soon as you know and can tell me the thing that's going to help find a harmonious solution and a way through, I will do that. As I will lead you into the light if you just ask. That's all you have to do. And this also is such a simple, it's a biblical, it's a spiritual, it's across all different traditions of this following the light, being led, needing to ask, asking and being answered, right? Having the nerve to seek and to be and to find. So I really love to do that. Sometimes I see them now. I'm just noticing I'm getting to about a half an hour, which is perfect because this little paragraph sort of sits on its own anyways. But I do want to sort of circle back and just talk a little bit about alchemy and shadow and light work here, because the first times I ever heard this, I just thought, wow, what powerful service is offered here. What a light and shadow work offerings. Alchemy is the potential in these words, right? And in that sort of metaphorical sense, it has so many playings out, because you can see it in a spiritual sense. You can see it as an offering to actually helping others out there who might be directly full of darkness or infested with shadow, who need help, or caught in their own negative spiraling liar loops and can't get out of them. And we see a simple correctness that could help. It also could be interpreted as those who are caught between the worlds, those of energetic immortality who are stuck in negative alignment, who cannot pass on, who are stagnating or moving even away from the light. There's great service there to helping those remember their truth, remember the direction towards the light, for them to find and remember their great path and purpose back to oneness and to source, to before and after, or the world in between the worlds, or spirit realm, whatever you want to call those happenings. There's so many different terminologies, languages, jargon, different fields that work within the spirit realm and all of that, that they call everything different, but I really think they're all saying the same thing. And I think as we build more correctness in how energy should really be transmuted and allowed to change, we will be transmuted and allowed to change much more freely, and we will understand much more deeply what this life is all about, what lifetimes are all about, what immortality versus mortality really means, and remembering that they're two sides of a whole coin, that the whole coin is much bigger than one life, and it's much bigger than what we could ever even try to define as the whole coin, as we literally sit upon only one side of the coin right now, right? So holding space and trying to remember that there's much more at the works than we have chosen to remember and to know. There's a great quote from Ra in the Law of One, and I love it so much. I can't remember directly the quote, but it's a reply and it's an answer, and I do have the direct quote in a meme, so I'll share that on Telegram for anybody who's interested in reading the direct words. But it says basically that life was the creator. Life, us as creator beings, is roles of the observer and as bits of creator consciousness here, mind, body, spirit complexes, we have our own point of view, perspective, first person, for a great purpose. And that purpose is to learn through growth, through the doing, through third density, which is all about physical manifestation. It's all about learning about this power of I am, the power of choice, and can see how it's been negatively taken. But anyways, the quote that I'm saying, getting a roundabout way of doing this, is that what fun would it be to sit down at a poker game and to know all the hands that everyone else is playing, to see all the cards, to know which cards are on the deck and which cards are in the hand. There's no point to that game. I mean, you could play it, but how boring, how monotonous. Creator, God, is not like that. God loves to be surprised. God is seeking every definite, little, intricate nuance that could ever be thought or created of within the scope of infinite potential discovery. There is a desire to take on as much discovery as possible, to play out every potential that wants to be played out. Conversely, to also know that every potential, though it could be played out, does not have to be. Just like who plays the poker game, you have to hold many potentials at one time because you don't know the ultimate outcome. And so you have to keep in your mind and hold with it a couple of different options. This player could have this hand, he could have this, that could be out on the deck, that could be sitting on in his hand, right? This, if I get this couple of cards from the dealer, right, then it's going to make this sort of array. It's going to make this segment, and I'm going to be able to play it and get the points. Chance, probability, right? These are lifeblood. These are energetic points. They fire us up, right? You can feel the truth. You can feel the energy flowing in them. The power of choice gets you going. But it's how and the intention of our attention and the direction that we choose to put our love and light into action that makes the game, you know, and that makes it whether immortality is a nightmare or if it's a literal dream, right? So no matter how you choose to look at it, these words are powerful. There's many layers to unlock in them, and I've only mentioned a couple of the different varieties of ways that you could choose to interpret immortality. You could take on this call to action here. You could see it play out in different ways in your own life, or let it unfold in one way and then another, as I have seen it so many different ways. I hope you've enjoyed this little talk here. I'm going to leave it here for now. And pick it up with the next round another time. Thank you so much for your audience. I hope to hear from everyone who's enjoying this. Your own little tidbits are always welcome. Feel free to leave replies or send me emails. But it's nice for replies so others could be charged and by your words as well. So thank you in advance for your energy and sharing, and have a beautiful day or evening wherever in the world you are. Work to feel your immortality and share it, to earn it, to bestow it, to know it for real. And thank you again. I'll talk to you next time.